give a quick take. And I've been saying to myself, I've actually been talking to myself quite a bit about this subject matter. And I think this is something that is driving me insane. And I'm talking about insane, y'all. I'm literally losing my shit on this. And I'm not joking the slightest. And if I'm having this conversation to myself, I haven't even spent $1 billion or close to $1 billion on this Atlanta Falcon team. Like, I haven't done it. So if this is me and my reaction to what's going on, I couldn't even imagine how angry Mr. Blank is. I couldn't even imagine the frustration and the anger that he's having. Like, let's be real. The conversation at hand should not be, it shouldn't even be like why isn't the offense playing well? Like, I got a major problem with that because it's like I have my hand on four. I have my hand on about four. Just being generous. I got my hand on about 4 platforms. I'm just gonna say, it's more than that, but I'm just gonna say 4 platforms. Yeah. So if I have my hand on 4 platforms and I could run these fairly well, and where all of them, for the most part, are moving a certain way, I gotta get pissed off. So I couldn't even imagine, and just bear with me, I couldn't even imagine looking at Arthur Blank and saying to himself, look at my team that I spent $1 billion for, and look at what the fuck I'm getting. I couldn't even imagine looking at him and saying, sir, yeah, this is Ike Hillier's fault. This is Zach Robinson's fault. This is Mike Pennick's fault. This is Drake London's fault. This is Chris Lindstrom's fault. This is Bijan Robinson's fault. Look at all of it. Like, you looking at all of this, and I'm saying to myself, is everybody's fault except for the head guy? Like, I'm looking at myself and I'm saying to myself, as Mad Mike, I'm gonna put my Mad Mike shoes on. I'm putting his shoes on and I'm saying to myself, I'm saying to myself, and I'm trying to be as nice as I possibly can by saying this, but I probably shouldn't. So fuck it. I'm not gonna be nice. I'm saying to myself, why is it everybody else? Why are you the Falcon fan? Why are you the fan pointing at everybody else except for the guy that's in fucking charge? When shit goes wrong with Atlanta Falcons Nation, y'all know who they point the finger at. Let's not be fucking stupid. If something goes on at Atlanta Falcons Nation, guess who's gonna get the blame? It ain't who the fuck you think it is. You know who's gonna get the blame. And at the end of the day, I don't give a shit who has a fucking attitude with anything, because everybody know when shit goes bad, who the fuck they gonna point the finger at. If people go to 6-man channel and somebody says something and somebody does something over there, guess who's gonna get the blame? I wonder. If somebody go to Mad Mike Sports, guess who's gonna get the blame? If someone doesn't get if someone doesn't get what they thought that they was gonna get, guess who's gonna have the blame? You had motherfuckers literally come on our live shows and point the finger at me and say, well, I thought we were this, I thought we were that, I thought we was buddies, I thought we were friends. Guess who got the blame? Guess who got the blame? Yeah. When somebody when you see someone sitting beside me, they ask to themselves, yeah, he must be brainwashed. He must be brainwashed by the one and only Mad Mike. He must be brainwashed because he shouldn't be sitting beside that jackass. I get the blame. I get the blame for everything that goes wrong and nothing for what's going good. Let me say that again. I get the blame for everything that goes wrong with 6MK Live, Truth, Sports and Entertainment, Mr. White Network. I get the blame for Mr. Tactician. Okay? The end games, I get the blame for that. I get the blame for Mad Mike Sports. I get the blame for AFN. I get the blame for Mad Mike Network. I get the blame for Jew Talk Sports. I get the blame for what's ever posted on Twitter, Instagram, everything. When something goes wrong, when somebody don't like somebody, I get the blame. But you're probably saying, Mike, what the fuck that got to do with anything? What does this have to do with anything? If everybody know what has happened in our past, present, and probably the future, it's going to have something to do with me. Why the hell does this guy consistently and constantly get passes? Why is it that we have all these Atlanta Falcons fans coming out of everywhere saying to themselves, I wish we had Arthur Smith back? Why is it that? Why is it that everybody want Arthur Smith back now? Why is it that everybody pointing the finger at an offensive coordinator that he hired? Now, it really pisses me off that everybody get a pass. Everybody gets the blame. Excuse me. I've heard that Michael Penix, after 6 games, he's a bust. I've heard Zach Robinson is just a bad play caller. Nobody point the finger at the guy that actually hired him and thought he was a great guy and great offensive mind via his words. Nobody point the finger at him. I'm not dealing with anybody that's coming here If you coming here to jump on Raheem nutsack, this ain't the prime. This ain't the time. Not dealing with it. Because I look, this is about truth. This is about honesty. If your kid did something at school, guess who's gonna get the blame? You. Not the uncle of the child, not the auntie of the child, not the grandmother of the child. You are the parent. You're gonna get the blame. So why should I be looking at Zach Robinson and saying he's the freaking problem when this guy has went out his way to tell us, he's going out his way to tell us he's not the defensive coach. So if he's not the defensive coach, he has to be an offensive guy. But we're pointing the finger at Zach Robinson. If you want to put the crusade on me, I'm fine with that. Because this son of a bitch needs to be gone. This son of a bitch needs every bit of anger and frustration and blame for this Atlanta Falcons offense right now. Because it looks like absolute horseshit. It looked like horseshit with Kirk Cousins. And that's the dumbest shit that I even hear from people too. Man, well, guess what? The offense was looking good on the Kirk Cousins. No, it wasn't. You had a few games where the offense looked good. And I'm talking about people within my same crew. Everybody, a lot of people saying, man, if Zach just run better plays, then everything would be all right. If the running back depth wasn't so far behind, guess what? Everything could be okay. So you're telling me that the simple issue in regards to this Atlanta Falcons offense is to just have the running back move up? The running back depth is too. I'm gonna take your words and apply it, Mr. Dan Orlovsky, and every other. I'm pulling you motherfuckers card because I hear a lot of fucking players I hear a lot of players out here fucking making excuses talking about the running back depth is too long and I don't like to be in this formation because this formation doesn't do this and this formation. Look. Shut the fuck up. Please just shut up. Because let's be real. If it was just that simple, why hasn't it been done? Why hasn't it been done? If it's as simple as these guys are saying it, and I'm pulling everybody card right now who's a player, former player, current player. I'm pulling all you motherfuckers cards right now. Why are you saying with a straight face that this is just as simple as the running back depth being up 2 yards? Oh, the Falcons are 8 yards instead of 6 yards. Okay. Let's take that. Let's take what you say and apply it. Is that going to make Michael Penix run the ball or throw the ball better? Is Zach Robinson calling another player going to make another wide receiver not drop passes? Is that because these are the things that we hear? Y'all tell me when I'm wrong from these football analysts and great football players who know their stuff. If it's that simple, why are we missing kicks? Why are we bringing in guys after one game, giving them a contract and saying, you know what? Guess what, y'all? This is what's wrong with the Atlanta Falcons. So if it's as simple as running back, oh, Bijan is too deep in the, huh? The pistol isn't working because he's 2 yards. Let me say this again. Bijan Robinson isn't running the ball because the Falcons' pistol offense isn't working well because Bijan Robinson is too deep and it puts it too much stress on the off. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. So the pistol is the reason why Drake London is dropping passes and he can't get open. The pistol is the reason why Darnell Mooney had 10 targets and 4 catches. Let me say something about the offensive line, and I've heard this too. I'm pulling everybody card because the Falcons only had 3 penalties. And from the best of my knowledge, I don't think too many of them came from the offensive line. So that leaves 2 more penalties for this Atlanta Falcons offensive line. It's putting so much stress on the offensive line that these guys are not getting penalties. This is insanity. It's insanity to sit up here and say that the offensive line, the offensive line is being stretched out because they're in the pistol, but they're not getting penalties. Like, I don't know who the hell you guys think you are, but it's not adding up. We got so many football players and so many, like the assistant coaches saying all this crazy shit, but that's not what's actually happening. The Falcons put up 332 yards offensively, and you're trying to tell me that even though they outgained their opponent, that it's because of the pistol. You're trying to tell me with a straight face that it's because of the pistol, and it's because Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier is too deep in. See, this is where I feel like these fucking players, these former players, these analysts, and these people who are former coaches are trying to play me like I'm a fucking idiot or something. They're playing me. They're trying to play. This is how I feel like they're trying to play me like I'm a fucking idiot, like I don't understand common fucking sense. This is why, as a fan, I call bullshit on all of these people, because at the end of the day, a lot of these people are only saying this shit because they're trying to get a job somewhere else, and they're trying to get a coaching job here and a coaching job here, so they can just break down and shit on the team because the team is doing bad. So they're not telling the truth in a lot of this shit. They're not telling the truth at all. Well, the offensive line, and, if Michael Penix threw the ball, look, I know what I'm saying when I'm looking at Michael Penix. I do see a quarterback struggling because he's getting a certain amount of pressure. I do see that. I do see a quarterback that is struggling in his progressions at time. I do see that. But the simply state that the Atlanta Falcons issues are simply on Zach Robinson not calling plays properly is beyond idiotic. And I'm calling anybody else who ever stated that Zach Robinson is the problem. That Bijan Robinson being 2 yards deeper is the problem. This problem is all one guy. And like I stated earlier in this, if shit goes wrong with anybody channel, guess who's fault? If somebody came out and said, fuck everybody, fuck all these Falcon content creators, guess who they're gonna come at? Guess who they're gonna come? and point the finger at. So y'all can stop crapping me. Y'all can stop crapping me with all this nonsense talking about it's Zach Robinson, it's Zach Robinson. Nobody is willing. Nobody's willing to point the finger at the real issue. Everybody wanna, yeah, man. Okay, if Zach Robinson is the issue, this is what we were talking about last night. If Zach Robinson is the issue, what's taking so long? I don't understand how y'all don't see that this is the same thing from last season with Kirk Cousins. This is the exact same thing. Let me say this again. Let me paint this picture. Paint a picture. Look, I'm about to paint a picture perfect. Okay, picture perfect. Paint a perfect picture. That's what I'm about to do for y'all. If you cannot see that this is the exact same things that we saw with Kirk Cousins last year, the lack of accountability. How can you not see what's going on right now? The lack of accountability. He's pointing the finger at this. He's saying this guy isn't telling the truth. That guy isn't telling the truth. We got two people that came out and said that they weren't prepared for the looks, and then he comes out and say things the complete opposite right along with Zach. Zach says, yeah, we are predictable. Raheem says, well, this guy isn't predictable, and that guy, Raheem says the offense is predictable. Zach comes out and said, no, it's not predictable. How can you not understand that this is the exact same thing that we saw with Kirk Cousins? It's the same thing. We see guys, and the crazy part about it, this is the crazy part about it. This is the crazy part about this entire situation that drives me insane. We saw the debacle for 3 to 5 games in a row. We saw Kirk Cousins play absolutely horrendous. He was not healthy. He lost his job. And guess what? This man doubled down, okay? He doubled down on Kirk Cousins saying, well, Kirk Cousins is the reason why we're in this position. He was so focused on protecting Kirk Cousins. Sound familiar? He was so focused on protecting Kirk Cousins and the guy that he chose to be his quarterback than actually doing something about it. Does that sound familiar, y'all? This is the exact same thing. It's just changing faces now. Shout out to the group changing faces. But this is changing faces. It's no longer Kirk Cousins right now. He's so scared of losing Zach Robinson and losing his partner in crime and looking like a failure again, and actually correcting him and saying, hey, we need to do this. We're saying, no, we're not going to do anything about Zach Robinson. No, we're not going to do anything about Michael Penix. No, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to get in the press conference and say, we got to get it done, and, the Atlanta Falcons, we still got some game to play, and if it doesn't get done, we like, come on, bro. You're so focused on protecting your coaching staff instead of actually doing something about it. You want to protect them. You want to protect the coaching staff instead of doing something in game. You want me to believe as a fan of the game, you standing on the sideline looking like a damn dumb mute. You're so enamored trying to look like Bill Parcells and look like Tony Dungy and look like all these guys. Oh, I don't show any emotion on the sideline. Why is one of the greatest coaches and offensive minds in the history of the game showing more emotions during the game than you are? Now, I'm talking about Andy Reid. When things are getting ugly on the sideline, I don't need you to be doubling down on your stupid looks. He doubling down on them stupid looks and doubling down and trying to tell us. This is the crazy part. This is what really bothers me like no other. This is why I cannot stand to look at this stupid fucker's face. Okay? This is why I can't stand when anybody, it boils my fucking blood. And I don't care who it come from, but this shit boils my blood. This is what boils my fucking blood when it comes down to Raheem. Y'all know what it is? You got all these ideas after the fact that we got our ass kicked. Okay? You got all these bright ideas after the fact we got our behind whipped. After the fact that we've got our behind whips. After. We done lost 30. Look, we lost the game against Tampa. We lost the game against Tampa. And we lost the game against the Carolina Panthers. You got all the great ideas after we've got our behind whipped. But none when we actually need you to be a head coach and you guys to be a coach. You got no ideas. You keep doing the same things over and over and over in the game. This is what boils my fucking blood more than anything. During the game, nothing. After the fact, you want to fire this guy. We're going to change this. We're going to change that. You got 15 things that you want to change after the fact we've got our behind whipped. And I'm supposed to believe you. I'm supposed to believe you. Please. I'm supposed to believe you. Okay? That you know what you're doing, even though during the game you make zero adjustments. I'm supposed to believe you. My question on this both sideline decision and Zach Robinson is why I put him back in the booth when he was on the sideline last year. Kev, that's the whole point. If your play caller performs better on the sideline and the communication is better, and it's always, because this isn't an issue that just came about. They had the same issue last year. And he came down from the booth. The same thing. This is why Zampese and those guys are there. If you need somebody in the booth, let somebody else do it. Let a veteran come up there. This is what Jerry Gray and all those guys, these guys can communicate. All right, this is the look. This is what they're showing on this down, and this is what this safety is doing at this particular time. If you need a guy up there, that's what communication is for. Hey, man, this safety is doing this. This safety is doing that. The linebacker is doing this. The edge is sitting on the right a little bit. why now you want to go back to it when there's a communication issue? And I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, it's because Michael Penix is a rookie. Well, it was because of Kirk Cousins, too. So the second question to go with that is, all right, so if there's a communication issue as far as the players is concerned, year after year, then I got a second question. Why are these people still playing? If they don't understand what's going on, why are these guys playing? You said it was all about competition. You said it's about these guys being able to actually play well. So if these guys aren't playing well, why are these guys, again, why are these guys being rewarded for bad play? You're rewarding guys for bad play. You're rewarding coaches and firing other guys. Guys are getting rewarded. Guys are getting rewarded for repetitive mistakes. Mm-hmm. These guys are getting rewarded for repetitive mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. So when it comes down to this situation, I've said time and time again, everybody pointing their finger at everybody else except for the guy that's in charge. You want to blame the owner who's not the football guy. Let me say this again. Everybody, man, the national media, the fans are saying, well, Arthur Blank is the one who hired him. Well, Arthur Blank is the owner. I don't see him at practice, conducting practice, putting forth a plan. Well, Arthur don't want to win. Of course he does. He hires the football guys to do football things, and the problem is the football guys aren't doing the football job. We blaming Zach Robinson for bad plays, but we're not asking Raheem, hey, bro, why are you letting him get away with these bad pads? Like, bro, your kid bad as a motherfucker. Why you ain't spanked his ass right now? Why haven't you gave your kid a whooping for coming home, getting into a fight, getting bad grades and all that type of stuff? Why haven't you done anything about it? You get bad grades on your report card and then say, hey, baby, you want to go to Disney World? Instead of doing something about it in that very moment, we wait till after the shit done blew up in our face and then he got 15 things that he wanted to change. And I see people like Aaron Donald come out and say, man, if you don't understand Raheem, don't let the smile fool you. Fuck you and his smile. Fuck Aaron Donald and his smile. Fuck Miss Thing and him and his thoughts about Raheem. Y'all can go to absolute hell. There's too much bestie, best friend bullshit and not enough reality. The reality of it, Raheem ain't worth a damn. The reality of it, the Atlanta Falcons offense ain't worth a damn. Do something about it. And I don't need you to wait 3 games, 2 games, 5 games to do something about it. Fire this guy because you believe personally this is the way it's supposed to be. Like, why aren't we doing things when it needs to be done? I don't need it to be done 2 games later. The Falcons offense did not look good from the very start of that game, and somehow still was able to put up 300 some yards. So I don't want to hear anything about the fact that Michael Penix isn't talented or the offense doesn't have talent. All of this is on the head guy. Okay, period, point blank. It makes me sick for everybody to get the blame except for this guy. We got guys like Dan Orlovsky talking. You're trying to convince me, and ironically, I was just looking at Lawrence Taylor, and see, this is the thing with Lawrence Taylor that I thought was great. Him saying this. See, Lawrence Taylor brought up a great point. He said at the time that Bill Belichick was an assistant to the special teams guy. And he said to himself, like, Bill Parcells, like, what are you doing? Why are you naming the assistant to the special teams guy the defensive coordinator? You know what Bill Parcells said? You know what Bill Parcells said, y'all? Bill Parcells said, well, you know those defensive plays that we've been running? That 3-4 look, the 4-3 looks, all that. Guess what? Those were Bill Belichick's plays designed. And he said, well, damn, well, I feel stupid. You mean the things that he was helping me with, get more sacks and play design and design certain things for me? You mean that came from him? Bill Parcells says, yes, that came from Bill Belichick. The moral of this story is the guy actually got it done. He created a system that actually got it done. Let me say this again. Bill Belichick designed that 93-94 New York Giants defensive scheme. He designed. A lot of those plays came from Bill Belichick. So they were actually seeing success. They were actually getting success. They were actually getting results. These guys were actually getting results. So I'm saying to myself that if we're not getting results from our coordinators, our coordinators aren't getting us touchdowns. Our coordinators aren't getting the ball into our playmakers' hands. This is no longer a player issue. This is a head coach issue because he's allowing guys that aren't getting the job done to remain in charge. He's allowing guys that aren't getting us results to remain in charge. And that's the problem that I have. Because if Michael Penix isn't developing properly as a head coach, as a quarterback, then we got a major problem. We got a major problem on our hands because we got 3 alleged quarterback gurus or quarterback guys that have great ideas. DJ Williams, Zach Robinson, who's a quarterback himself, and TJ Yates is a quarterback. We got three guys, and you tell me three of those out of all those three of those guys that nobody, including Kirk, I forgot to include Kirk, four guys. Out of all those four guys, they still can't get Michael Penix ready to properly see certain things and to get into the end zone. Like you can't get into it. Don't worry about Tank. He been blocked from this channel, y'all. I don't do dick sucking over here. So if y'all want to dick suck players because that's your boo, this ain't the channel for you. We don't do the dick sucking over here. We're going to actually talk about what's actually real. And what's real is that the Atlanta Falcons offense isn't scoring touchdowns. We're not scoring touchdowns. We got zero passing, zero in 3 fucking games. Zero. So Carlo, we gonna see about that. We gonna see. But that's the whole Tunnel, that's it. These are the things that I'm talking about. If Drake is dropping passes, sit his ass down. We guys like Drake London ain't half assing it. He don't look like Drake London at all. We're not throwing the ball to Drake more. He's not getting open. Like how many more excuses do we need? Like these are the things that I'm looking at and I'm saying to myself, like, I'm not doing it. Like you got guys like Mooney. I could give a flying fuck about what his cardio is what his cardio is like. I don't care. Don't tell me because you got a shoulder injury that you can't run a fucking mile. Get the fuck out of here. Like, don't tell me because you got a shoulder injury that your cardio is bad and you got to get in football shape. Like, I don't want to hear that. Like it's the craziest thing that everybody pointing their finger at every other issue except for the real issue. Our head coach is allowing guys to just get just to underperform. Let's say let's say that Zach Robinson play calls are terrible. Let's just say that. Let's say I agree with everybody wholeheartedly. Let's say that I agree with everything everybody's saying about Michael Penix, Zach Robinson. Let's say that Ike Hilliard wasn't the issue. And let's point the finger at Zach Roberts because that's the general consensus, which is funny to me because every time we have we're not doing the right what we need to do on the offensive side of the ball or what people want us to do, they always pointing the finger at the offensive coordinator. Everybody wanted to point the finger at Matt Ryan for losing the Super Bowl, but guess who's the one that allowed, again, guess who's the one that allowed Kyle Shanahan to call whatever he wanted, when he wanted, how he wanted, the time that he wanted? K-Style, you allow the ship to sink without going through evacuation procedures. That's crazy. Like everybody wanted to point. I don't point the finger. Look, it's as much as people and as much as I despise his attitude, I don't blame Kyle Shanahan for those play calls in the Super Bowl. Because the head coach has the power to veto all of that and call a timeout. Guess what he did? Nothing. He did nothing. Dan Quinn did nothing. He allowed the whole fourth quarter to go by where we passed the ball, and we had a lead. And instead of running the ball and getting the ball into our running back's hands, he allowed Kyle Shanahan to do whatever he wanted to do, and it ultimately lost us the game. Does that sound familiar? Because it sounds awfully familiar right now. And John, that's the whole point. This dude is nothing more than Dan Quinn. He allowed these guys to do whatever they want and don't make the necessary changes. And guess what happens? We suffer. We got to suffer through it. This is like the fourth or fifth. Like, this is like what you saying right here, John. I think we're seeing the same scenario last year when some of us knew that Jimmy Lake wasn't a real culprit. He had to be the scapegoat. It's the same thing. The same scenario. Every time there's an issue, we born the offensive coordinator, the wide receiver coach, the quarterback, the running back, the left tackle, right tackle, instead of pointing the finger at the head coach. Let's not blame the head coach for anything. Let's blame the rookie, the quarterback who's had a total of 6 games. Okay, 6 games. A grand total of 6 games. Let's blame him and say he's the reason why we're struggling. What's up, Jew? I have a major problem with everybody pointing the finger at the quarterback and the offensive coordinator when we literally saw our head coach watch the Titanic sink in 2017. He watched the Titanic sink and did nothing. He stood on the sideline with that stupid look on his face. Sound familiar, doesn't it? He stood on the sideline with that stupid look on his face and watched the Atlanta Falcons give up a 28-3 lead, 25-point lead. He just sat there and allowed Kyle Shanahan to call plays over and over and over again that weren't getting results. And instead of running the ball, running the clock out, we sat there and watched. And we want to point the finger at Zach Robinson, Ike Hilliard, Bijan Robinson, being too deep. We're blaming everything on that. That's a major problem for me. Like, we're blaming a guy that had a grand total. Again, a grand total of 6 games at the helm, and we're saying he's the reason why we're losing. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Let's blame the guy that had a grand total of 6 games under his belt and say he's the reason why we're losing. He's the reason why our offense can't get into the end zone. Even though he did it last year, but they're barely throwing the ball in the middle of the field. But I'm supposed to believe that this is just as simple as Zach Robinson not calling the plays and nobody is telling him, hey, bro, that's not working. Let's do this instead. Like I said, we better be ready. We better be ready for it to come. We better be ready. Because at this point, I'm pointing the finger at a guy that needs to have, and I'm talking about in-game adjustments. I don't want to see you, we're going to put the offensive coordinator on the field this time. We're going to fire the wide receivers coach after the fact. Like, every time something goes horribly bad, we say 2-3 games later, these are the changes that we made. And then guess what? After a game, after 2 games, it reverts right back to the same thing. Because that's what happened with Jimmy Lake. You supposedly jumped in and made the changes to the defense. They played well for a good 3 to 5 games, and guess what happened? They returned right back to trash. Mm-hmm. Reverted right back to trash after this guy sold us on the idea that Jimmy Lake was the problem and the Falcons defense was going to get better because because I and Raheem took over the defense. And the defense returned right back to trash after 2 games. So I am not going to be impressed by one good game by the Atlanta Falcons returning to form offensively. You better put together something that actually works. I don't need a quick fix for one game. Because we've been down that road. So that's the problem that I have with a lot of this. I have a major problem with the idea that It's just Zach Robinson's fault. It's just if we get Bijan Robinson at proper running back depth, he'll be a bit like, what are we talking about, bro? Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier don't need no damn running back depth prop. Like, they don't need no damn running back depth. Like, they don't need that. That's not what's wrong with this Falcons offense. Is that the Atlanta Falcons, two guys that are in head and charge of this offense, and that's Raheem and Zach Robinson, they cannot find it in themselves to say, all right, this is what's wrong with our offense. We need to change it. Instead, they both conspired to fire, again, they conspired together to fire Art Huey and make him the scapegoat, because guess what? We're our numbers, and that's the way it goes. If your position group isn't getting certain numbers, you're going to be fired. That's just the way it goes. Instead of looking at the thing in its entirety after 3 games, come on, bro. So, Coach is about to go live in a few. Coach is about to go live in a few. And like I said, I just wanted to get that off of my chest. But, look, man, if you're going to come up here and say with a straight face that Raheem isn't a problem, you don't belong on this channel. You don't even belong as a Falcon fan. You belong on your knees in a brothel, butt booty ass naked, because that's what you are. Let's keep it real. Anybody who's defending Raheem right now need to be butt booty naked in a brothel on their knees. And you can picture, okay? You can picture and say what you want, because that's exactly what you are. Anybody who's defending Raheem right now is a lying sack of absolute crap. You need to be Tiana Trump. You need to be Superhead. You need to be Suki Hunter. You need to be whoever. Because if you can't see with a straight face that this guy who has no answers in game but have all the answers after the game is a problem, I can't even talk to you. So head over to Coach Unchained. He's gonna have an extension on this conversation. I may be over there, but I gotta, like I said, I had to get it up because this shit is really bothering me when everybody, instead of doing what instead of being real, everybody, because I like this guy, I like Raheem, and look, Raheem is the problem. I'm not pointing the finger at the offensive coordinators who's second and third in command when he has the freedom to do whatever and call whatever he wants. Nah, ain't happening. That man ain't nothing but Dan Quinn, and I told you from the very beginning, he's a Dan Quinn guy. Dan Quinn just allow his offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, coaches to do whatever they want, and anybody that conspires against their theories, they getting rid of them. We saw it from the very beginning with Dan Quinn. The very beginning in 2016, he fired Richard Smith. This dude has had a history of firing guys because they try to correct him. He has a history of it. Raheem has a history of it. So instead of seeing what's actually real, guess what we do? We point the finger at the people that don't call all the shots. And that right there is the bottom line. Because man Mike said so. And like I said, head over to Coach Unchained. I may be over there for a minute. All right, Coach Unchained. All right. Atlanta Falcon Nation, I think it's on Atlanta Falcon Nation also. So you'll see part 2 of this conversation. If he have, I think he's already started. But head over there, man. You're gonna get part 2 of this conversation, and that right there is the bottom line. Because Mad Mike said so. Out.